Guys, the bull run is about to start. I'm going to tell you exactly how I know. Now, a lot of people have been getting very, very disillusioned over the course of the summer. And of course, that's because we hit an all-time high and then we've been down in the dumps or just been waddling around for the last, 8 months. But I will have to tell you, this lines up perfectly with the bull run timeline. I am convinced now that the actual Bullrun timeline, especially for altcoins, did not change. The ETF was just kind of like an early shot in the arm for Bitcoin. And how I know it's coming is because the interest is coming back. The interest rates are coming down for the Fed, and that does actually mean that once the interest rate comes down for the Fed, at least that means like the $6 trillion that are in the bond market are going to migrate over to crypto and, of course, stocks. More of it's going to migrate into stocks, but crypto is also going to get some of those $6 trillion. And it does not take $6 trillion to pump Bitcoin way, way up. Just this week, ETFs have seen massive inflow for Bitcoin. The Ethereum ETFs still have their own problem. I'm not a huge fan of Ethereum right now, but for, like the Bitcoin stuff, altcoins have followed pretty well, especially meme coins. If you want to get on some early pumpers, definitely take a look at like Dogecoin and the rest of the meme coins that actually follow. But when I say the pattern is following exactly like the last bull run, this is exactly what I mean. If you look at the last bull run, like 4 years ago, it was October 20th, 2020. And where were we? October 20th, 2020? We were right here on the graph. $11,913. By the time, like 5 months later, in April of 2021, where were we? $69,000. A rise of 550% from basically October 20th to April 15th or something like that. However, I do not believe Bitcoin will rise 550% this time because we got the ETF injection. I do believe it'll be more like 230%, making us $15,000. But if you look at just the price of Bitcoin, you can see that back in 2019, we had $12,000 as well. And so the thing is, we were actually higher more than a year before we really started going up than the current October 20th of 2020. And before that 2019 pump up, we were much lower at about $3,000, $4,000 at that. And this is exactly like what we did this year. Before the beginning of the year pump, Bitcoin was at $20,000, $30,000. After that, it got to $73,000, but then it withdrew to about upper 50s or lower 60,000s. So basically, yes, it peaked. It peaked once, and then it went into a trough that was still much, much higher than the previous trough we were in before we peaked. And this is exactly what happened in the last. This is exactly what happened in the last cycle too. They just didn't have the giant ETF shot in the arm, so they only went to about $13,000, which was more than half their all-time high, instead of $73,000, which was an all-time high. I firmly believe that we would be at about $40,000 right now if were it not for the ETF. But the ETF only affected Bitcoin because it's a Bitcoin ETF, and people that buy the ETF aren't the same ones that actually buy Bitcoin in the spot market, and also aren't the ones that buy altcoins. It was a whole new class of investors focused on Bitcoin. But that gives us something to look forward to because altcoin ETFs are actually coming. Now, I'm not too optimistic right now because the Ethereum ETF tanked. So I don't think people are that interested in other altcoin ETFs now. But if you just take a look at Bitcoin, it's following the cycle exactly outside of the shot in the arm with the ETF. But after the 1 month of euphoria with the ETF, it basically came back down to a much higher level than it was before the pump, just like we did last cycle, because we went from 4,000 to 13,000. Then we came down to $8,000 or $9,000 after peaking at 13,000. And that's exactly what happened this time. And of course, in 2019, altcoins went up a little bit, but then when Bitcoin dumped down, the altcoins suffered as well. And around this time last cycle, people were about to give up on the altcoins as well. This time it just seems worse compared to Bitcoin, of course, because Bitcoin once again got the ETF shot in the arm. So it's about twice as high as it was last time. But right now, If you take the ETF out, we're basically exactly where we were at the last cycle. Alts are about to take off, and the macroeconomic factors, whether like it's the administration getting more friendly towards crypto or interest rates coming down, which will happen regardless of administration, we're going to go up, and we're about to enter a bull run. So don't give up yet. And according to the charts, the graphs, and according to not really even the charts, the graphs, according to the 4-year cycle, we are right on schedule, and the bull run will start within the next few weeks. So I will see you there.